Big news! The live-action adaptation of One Piece Oda announced at the 20th anniversary celebration in 2017 finally has a significant update. It is for sure coming to and being backed by Netflix. Let's talk about it. Hey YouTube, Joeboy here. So really this isn't actually new news, at least to most people. I think it was about 6 months ago Netflix accidentally leaked the listing of a Netflix One Piece adaptation. It wasn't really specific about it, but it really could have only been the live action one that Oda promised in 2017. The listing and page were only up for a short time, but you know how the internet works. And then from there on, I was pretty confident that this was coming to Netflix, and now it's official and obviously great news. So I think that we all know, we are all asking this question: is it even possible for One Piece to work in live action? My opinion, yeah, it's possible, sort of, but it will be impossible to do it in a way that makes every fan happy. So let's begin by talking about the budget. And that's the area that appears to have the strongest footing right now. Being involved with Netflix is a big effing deal, man. Without a doubt, you already know that they are going to be bringing their big boy wallet. You don't half-heartedly invest in a One Piece live action. A few days after this thing was originally announced, Marty Adelstein, who's sort of the big wig at the top here, was on record saying its budget could set a record for the highest production cost in television drama history. And I believe it. Full disclosure, this is by far the most encouraging statement that could have ever been made about this. It tells you that Marty understands the challenges One Piece poses, and despite them, still believes that this thing will happen, and is going and getting the resources that is necessary to make it. But you need to understand, it's not just this one person, it's not just him. Others, including Netflix, are now joining in. They believe in this thing, man, and it's clear that they are going to throw money at this as it is needed. And that is the single reason, you can disregard all other ones, this is the single reason why there's hope. You almost get the feeling that they will be throwing money at this thing until it works. And that might just be necessary. But the potential dividends are there. But I gotta speak from the heart. You cannot one-for-one adapt the One Piece manga into a live-action TV show. I think that's self-evident enough based on the literal thousands of comments from fans voicing their doubts. But for me, it goes even further than this. If you want One Piece to be successful in the West first, but most importantly, within this new medium second, you're going to have to change things. Potentially a lot of things. At the first sniff of corniness or cringe, most of the American audience will be gone. They'll be out the door, I'm just telling you. It doesn't seem to matter how many manga anime to TV conversions fail. People and executives just don't seem to understand what works and what doesn't. So prepare yourself. Following the manga exactly is not really that important. Not if you want it to be successful. I know there will be a lot of people out there using specific arguments to try and justify their perspective that you need to follow the source material, like for instance, Death Note movie. Well, first off, the Death Note movie is a movie, not a TV show. They're trying to cram hours upon hours of content into an hour and 30-minute movie, and that already is a terrible start. So yeah, it goes without saying that the fact that this One Piece TV show is a TV show and not a movie is a huge thumbs up for me. I also don't think that this is why Death Note failed. I think Death Note failed because it was poorly written, which is kind of the big sell of Death Note in the first place. It was well written, thoughtful, and intelligent. I have these same sort of conversations with people regarding games based on and funded essentially by popular IPs. Typically, these games I find not to be very good. Why? People don't buy the game for the game itself, they buy the game for whatever franchise. The gameplay itself sucks, or is not good enough to catch any sort of momentum among the casual populace. And that is exactly what this live action adaptation needs to avoid. It needs to stand up on its own. And I don't think that that's going to be by following the source material 100%. That's going to be by selectively and purposefully changing things. Yes, of course, it's important for many of the established fans to, stay true with the source material. But, news alert here, this isn't being made for the current fans of One Piece. It's being made to create new fans. So the number one priority, if you want this to be successful, is just make it good, whatever that takes. Although you would definitely need talented, creative, and driven individuals to make this possible. But yeah, One Piece is created first and foremost for its medium, manga. One Piece is tailor-made specific to manga. All of the best stories ever told know their medium. Whether it be a TV show, a book, a movie, manga, or whatever, it's not all the same, and those artists working within their particular medium know what they are doing. Anime to manga usually works because principally it's very similar. It's an animated comic. You're stringing together, drawings. But in general, I like to think of anime as manga, but with the potential to be better. I know that's probably a controversial statement. Many people prefer manga over anime, but ideally, nothing is lost in the conversion of manga to anime. Only things are gained to allow for even greater atmosphere and immersion. Things like the music and the background and the voice acting, as they say, it brings it to life. They work together seamlessly. Ideally, of course, we know in many instances animes just fail utterly. But adapting from drawings into live action is another story entirely, especially in a world as surreal as One Piece. This isn't like American comics, which for the most part take place in the real world, or a world that you are very, very familiar with. And for the most successful adaptations, they still change things. And keep in mind that this absolutely happens. Like, a lot of us are fans of the Heath Ledger Joker, right? But the Heath Ledger Joker is not comic book Joker. But nobody really cares because it's great. The plots of all the best superhero movies, yes, many of the ideas and concepts are based in the canon, but mostly the stories are brand new. Aside from the characters themselves and some ideas, it's mostly created from scratch by talented people. Oftentimes, the approach to comedy as well has significantly changed for the better. And just as we applaud some things for being faithful in particular circumstances, there's also equally chances for us to criticize something for being too faithful. No generalized statement here is 100% true 100% of the time. So don't believe anybody who tells you that the only way for this One Piece live action to work is by being meticulously accurate. And don't believe anybody who tells you can just drag and drop the One Piece manga and anime into live action form and it'll work. So just as an example, guys, I don't think that you can have goofy character designs. Absolutely do not give Usopp an absurd long nose, please. What is most important here is you just have to make them cool looking, and it has to look natural. I want to give all the love and respect I possibly have to cosplayers, but just frankly, if they appear at all like a cosplay, then it's not going to work. For instance, watching Dragon Ball Evolution, which is absolutely horrible. Goku, when he wears his little orange jumpsuit, that looks like a cosplay. It's awful. I bet most of you out there have seen Pirates of the Caribbean, and when you were watching that, did you ever have the thought, these people are cosplaying as pirates? No, man, it looks like the real deal. And that's how it's gotta be if you want this to be a commercial success. It's not about normalizing One Piece. It's about not making it cringy. Some things work in drawing form that I cannot imagine in any universe working in live action. Usopp nose being just one example. Oda's unique art style works in his medium. I don't think like Brook would work as he is drawn in live action. You could of course have a skeleton man, but he would have to be flavorfully different. But yeah, this leads me to the comedy. I don't think people really understand how important comedy is to One Piece. Often it makes or breaks a chapter for many, whether they realize it or not. And I don't think that it would have become as big as it is now without it, in my opinion. And this comedy is mostly all rooted in drawing mediums. Like, for instance, you can't do the anime shocked face in live action, I don't think. One of the most unique things about One Piece is how over-expressive the characters are, and that comes off to great effect when Oda draws them. But the same thing cannot be used in any way during a live action. You have to understand how fundamental this is to why One Piece is great. I don't want to see an actor try and do the Luffy giant smile. It's not going to work. It's going to come off as incredibly unnatural. Now guys, imagine this for a moment. Oda can no longer use overexpression in the One Piece manga under any circumstances. Is it anywhere near as good? Is it anywhere near the same thing? I would argue no. So you essentially have to rewrite, or straight up write, most of the comedy in this live action, brand new, if One Piece is to carry the same energy and appeal in the same way. And we are talking about this as it relates to comedy, but Oda also uses this very same thing to improve the dramatic moments as well. As the Death Note failed because I felt like it was poorly written, well, the same thing will happen to One Piece if they do not obtain talented writers, many of them. It's got to stand up on its own even outside of the source material. You have to still compensate for what is going to be lost. So if you can't find an approach that works, or hire talent capable of making this work, I think you best change the entire tone. If this means making One Piece darker, more serious, more of an action thriller and less of an action comedy, then it is what it is. I see people trying to compare this live action One Piece with Game of Thrones or The Witcher, but unfortunately for me, it's not that easy. These are both based on books. Books use words to tell their story. Those same words, in many cases, can be used one for one in live action adaptations. And in the case of Game of Thrones, the dialogue is so strong that given appropriate acting or good enough acting, it carries the show by itself. You could take out most of the plot and call it interesting people talking, and I would probably watch. At least as far as dialogue is concerned. Everything around this, the world as described by a few words, it can be molded and changed as needed. It's an open canvas to be filled in mostly as you would like, or as you can. The only limitation is what's possible or not. Again, movies and TV shows actually bring books to life, in the same way that anime brings manga to life. They are complementary. And that's why some of the best movies are based on books. Meanwhile, there is no movie that I would call the best of anything based on a manga or anime. For One Piece, it's like approaching this from the exact opposite side. It has moments of strong dialogue and plot, yeah, but what it provides the strongest is the developed visual world. So rather than having a blank canvas, you are now trapped within a box of what you can do or you can't do because the world has already been visually created. And some of this might not work in live action, or requires you to significantly change it for it to work, unlike manga to anime where the drawings will work, or books to live action where the dialogue you just copy and paste. So essentially you have reason to question the very strongest elements of One Piece. Meanwhile, this being true, you also have to strengthen other aspects of the story to fit within this new medium if you intend for this to be an equal the greatness it's based on. And I want this said, guys, I don't think that you should change everything. Like, let's go back to Death Note example, right? They changed Light from an intelligent super genius into just your everyday high school emo kid. You've in fact taken away what was the primary draw of it, in my opinion, and there was no reason to do so, other than lack of skill and ability. And it's not replaced with something that is equally as interesting, which is just kind of sad. Because writing two super geniuses moving and counter-moving everything that the other person is doing is really hard to do. So yeah, don't change everything about One Piece, but be intelligent enough, be introspective enough to know when changes are needed, and also when they're not. So yeah, as an obvious example, the vast majority of the One Piece plot I think would work. The sequence of events, a lot of the characters can stay the same. In terms of how they act on the plot, the twists and turns in the manga can stay, but things may need to be added to this. One Piece has strong plot in comparison to other shonen manga, but often I think in the West in regards to live action TV shows or movies, they tend to be more plot centric. I don't think that you can do battle after battle, which is a lot of One Piece. And if you do make changes, replace it with something that is roughly equally as well crafted. Different yet still great, like Heath Ledger's Joker. Yeah, I guess what I'm saying, guys, is that this is no easy task, obviously. Perhaps the greatest challenge any modern TV show could have, ignoring financial issues. And I don't feel like that's hyperbole. I think that you could literally hire the most talented people in the business and have an unlimited budget and still get this wrong. And that's kind of a feat by itself. So my plea to the creators is don't lock yourself into a box and do what needs to be done for this to work. Be intelligent. If that means making One Piece a little less light and airy and hammering down on the dark aspects of it, do it. If that means changing character designs, sometimes entirely, do it. If that means making subtle changes to characters themselves and adding tons of additional and well thought out and well written dialogue, do it. If that means adding some more plot and limiting the action and fighting in comparison, do it. There are so many moving pieces that you could get wrong, and it would be a shame if some wounds are self-inflicted because they don't understand what can actually be translated or not. If they don't compensate in certain areas for what One Piece would lack in this medium. Not all changes are automatically bad. Bad changes and poorly executed changes are bad. And yeah, I'm sure people will undoubtedly argue with me. One Piece is perfect, and if they change it, they will hate it. But the vast majority of fans have already decided that they are going to hate it, regardless of, whether they change anything or not. In fact, a lot of people think that they're going to hate it because they believe that they're not going to change things. At some level, most of us seem to understand the challenges. It's impossible for this to be successful. So make it possible by changing things as needed. One Piece has many ideas that I know would work. The world itself, traveling to many different interesting and bizarre islands, all of the lore and history, the mysteries, the factions, superpowers are it, man. You already know, based on this alone, that this is going to get some looks. But I think One Piece takes it to another place that nobody, that aren't a fan of anime, manga, or One Piece, it's going to take it to a place that they've never seen before in live action. You want to compare it to the Avengers, but then you realize it's better because the world is different and it's more interesting. This has the potential to draw in an insane amount of people. But it can't be corny, it can't be cringy, it's got to feel cool. But yeah, here, man, we're only at stages before this is actually being created. Then it's going to be judged based on, like normal TV things. How is the acting, the cast? I don't want to see all Japanese cast. That's not going to work. Use talented English as their primary language actors of all colors. That's the world of One Piece anyway. And I don't care if they exactly match the manga counterparts. Get talented actors, period. People who will fit in the roles and what's being tasked for them. Again, this isn't for One Piece fans. One Piece fans can read One Piece. This is for new fans. Get good actors. If the best Zoro actor happens to be black, and the one who fits Usopp best is, I don't know, Asian, do it. I do not care, and neither should you, person with no expectations already. Seriously, if you view this as something entirely different, I think that there's a lot of potential here for greatness. But yeah, this goes without saying, have an open mind going into this. Don't have huge expectations. Let it work. Don't go out of your way to destroy it if your only reason is it isn't the same. Destroy it if it sucks. Watch it anyway and give it a shot. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much all I had to say today. As always, I'm curious as to what you guys think. Share your thoughts in the comment section below. Like the video if you liked the video, dislike the video if you disliked the video, subscribe if you want to be notified for my future content, and as always, guys, have a wonderful day.